guys? Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana, and I'm happy to have one of my good friends, one of my good hobby collector friends, and a repeat guest on the show. We've got Justin at 610 Sports Cards joining us from which state? Remind me.
Virginia, a different part of Virginia than the last time we talked, but yeah, we'll stick with Virginia for now.
For Virginia. Okay, so not too far from Atlantic City. So not surprisingly, we're just a few days from the end of the 2022 National in Atlantic City. Justin, for those of you who recall from the last time he was on the show, is one of the bigger, higher-end dealers out there, a real quality dealer in the hobby. Has recently converted to full-time, correct, into the hobby?
Yep, about a year and a half now. Yep.
Full-time, travels all over, was obviously a prominent part of the National. We got to meet face-to-face for the first time and spend some time together. For those of you, I always do this with anybody who comes on the show. I want to show the Instagram page that Justin has. So here it is. He's 610 Sports Cards, 610 Sports Cards. As you can see, he's got a bevy of followers, and part of it is probably because his cards are filthy. So just to scroll real quickly and show you the kind of stuff that Justin deals in. Justin, I consider you the expert that I bounce Jordan any Jordan memorabilia questions off of, any Jordan autograph questions off of, authenticity type questions like that, quality of patches and autographs. I am incredibly ignorant when it comes to that stuff. I consider you a valuable resource and a very appreciated resource in the hobby when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's definitely that's definitely my lane, is the autograph stuff and the patch stuff. Just kind of the glory days of the 2000s, kind of the exquisite era, so to speak. And yeah, it's fun. It's important to share that information, and don't be afraid to reach out if you have questions about stuff, just because, unfortunately, a lot of the resources that used to be available to us to research this stuff have been whittled away in some way, shape, or form. So the knowledge is still out there. It's just, unfortunately, it's a little harder to find.
For sure. And I see you've got a nice gold tilt too. You've got you've dipped your toe in the gold prism and the gold market. Have you not, my friend?
Yeah, I got lucky with a big lot of gold prisms, 15, 16s mostly, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And I pieced some of those off, a lot of the legends, and kept some, and still, unfortunately, like a lot of this stuff, missed the window to move most of them. But they're still gold. They're still numbered to 10. They're still popular. So it's fun stuff to have.
Look, the gold rush is for real. Golds are not the same price that they were 4 or 5 years ago. So if you picked them up in 2015, 16, you did okay. All right.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so let's do this. I've talked about my experience at the National. It was my first one. You've been to a million of them. Give me your 90 seconds or left, just your general perspective of this year's National. That's not going to be really the focus, like generally speaking, the general picture, because we've all heard Atlantic City sucks. Atlantic City's great. The air conditioning sucked. The air conditioning was great. The Wi-Fi sucked, this, that. We've heard about all that. Just give me your just general impression, anything that stood out to you, in a little 2-minute blurb of what you saw at the National from a dealer's perspective.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was like you said, just focusing on the show itself. It was a great show. I mean, there were a ton of people. We were slammed pretty much starting. Our booth was pretty far back from the entrance, but about 30 minutes after the doors opened, traffic started to cycle back, and we got a lot of good traffic flow too, because when you just come straight in the main entrance, a lot of people went all the way to the back and then worked their way forward. So, it took about 20 or 30 minutes for it to fill up with foot traffic back in our area, but ton of people there. It was busy pretty much from the get-go, Wednesday to Sunday. I mean, comparing it to Chicago last year, the traffic might have fallen off a little earlier towards the end of the show than it did in Rosemont. But again, it's not maybe 30 minutes to an hour before close. And honestly, that allows you to pack up a little bit and have a little bit more time to get ready to go out and do whatever you want to do in the evening. So it was a really, really, from a purely show perspective, it was a really, really good show. It wasn't guys splashing cash around like it was in 2021. Sure. I think you definitely had to be more flexible and a little bit more nimble in terms of pure trade or trade cash to try and make things work. But I had a great show. I put a stack of cards together that I came home with, and I track all this stuff on the notes app on my phone like a ding dong. But then when I put the cards all together, it was like 30 or 40 new cards. And I was like, Jesus, where did all these come from? So
Yeah.
a lot of new stuff came in, a lot of stuff went out. And that's, for me personally, that's what the show's all about. So
Sure.
it was a great show.
Well, look, I can attest to the fact that I know you were bitching a little bit about your location real early on, like even on Wednesday early. I'm telling you, you were kind enough to let me use your, booth as a home base because I was limping around with a bum leg, right? And I was really struggling with some knee swelling just because I'm coming off an injury. And it's pathetic, right? I can't even walk around without an injury popping up. But you were letting me kind of grow some roots at your table. So I sat back there on one of your chairs and killed maybe 30 minutes a couple of times during the show. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any downtime. Like I couldn't
Right.
even really chat with you, to be quite honest with you. I wanted to kind of chat with you about what's in your showcase, which we're going to look at in a second, but I couldn't even do that because it was so busy because you were constantly buying, selling, trading, doing that. And then even the guys that were next to you. And look, for those of you who don't know Justin or didn't get a chance to see his booth at the show, the guys on his left and right were no slouches either. I'm assuming that was not by accident. You know those guys. I know Spurs fan had it's maybe the best Spurs collection I've ever seen. He also might be the only Spurs collector in the world. But then on
don't
both
tell him that. Yeah,
I won't tell him that. But then on both sides of you, it was just absolute fire everywhere, and all those guys were super nice as well. So when I sat there, it was Grand Central Station, man. So I don't think your location really affected it. People kind of tend to figure out where the right booths are, depending on what they're looking for. And so I don't think anybody that should have seen what you had or seen your booth didn't get to see it because of where it was located. So anyway, it was fun, and I do appreciate you letting me rest my knee and reduce the swelling so I could get back at it and wander around the show for a little bit. So,
of course, and yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I have a flair for the dramatic, so you're definitely right. It wasn't that bad at all. And to your point as well, like I try and set up with other guys. All those guys at my booth are really good friends. We just try and focus on modern sports cards, so modern era stuff. And that way you get a good mix of players and sets and price points that everybody can definitely find something. So it's always a great combination. Next year for Chicago, I actually got 2 booths instead of 1.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't have to revisit this whole what is a booth discussion. But we're gonna have 2 of those side by side, and they'll be setting up next to like Nady All Store Sports Cards 23. Petro and all those guys too. So we're just trying to build out kind of that critical mass, so to speak, of just a one-stop shop, like you said, where people can go to look at just sports cards. So
sure, similarly situated dealers dealing in similar markets. I noticed that at your booth. There was a kind of a consolidated theme. Like when you went around that little corner that you had, it was like, and I've got some of this stuff pulled up on the screen. I mean, I'll just whip through it real quick. I see a Jamal Murray gold rookie card from 2016. You've got a Tatum. It looks like some kind of red Pulsar Tatum. You've got your patch auto stuff that you specialized in. Tons of gold, right? Which is something that I've kind of dipped into lately, buying a couple of Damian Lillard cards here and there. You got some jambalayas down here. Big numbers, right? So you've got some price stickers on here, and I'm, no select Ben Simmons rookie base cards in here that I see. So everything in here is like the real deal. Every card in here means something. And it looks like to me like there's at least 3 zeros behind every card. So this just kind of gives you guys an idea. And here's another picture of the other case. This just kind of gives you guys an idea, same case, but the top of the type of stuff that Justin was moving at the show. So Justin is what I think most people would agree would be a very high-end dealer, since there's, an easy 6 figures worth of cards in your case. And so this is the world that you and I kind of live in. But when I walk around the show, and this is where you don't delve in the sewers like I do, because you are a true high-end dealer and you're nationwide and you're full-time. But I like to dig around the show and pick up little baby cards, sometimes pick up raw cards, send them into PSA, get them graded. You don't mess with any of that stuff. Your profit center is strictly going to shows, buying low, selling high, or working trades in your favor, and then rinse and repeat. Is that fair? Or do you do the stuff that I do? Do you buy low end raw stuff, clean it, grade it, send it in mass and stuff like that? Do you mess with stuff like that?
I've tried before. It's just I can't do it to that degree.
Yeah.
I will say that. So just again, not to spend too much time on it, but like broadly speaking, I try and use Tuesday for early dealer setup, and then all day Wednesday just walking around, trying to find stuff to flip. Basically pay for show expenses, pay for hotels, drinks, um, dinners, Ubers, whatever the case might be. And this might be shocking to people, but two of those cards that I grabbed, two of them were football cards, and then I actually bought a baseball card this year, which damn near knocked some of my buddies over when I came back and showed it to them.
Who was it? Answer the question.
So
Give
no,
the people what they want.
if I had my box next to me, I'd grab it. But it is a 2004 Prime Cuts dual patch of Mel Ott and Ted Williams, and it's numbered to 9. And I randomly saw it in a case along with something else, and I was like, that's interesting, because it was priced at $500. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know much, but I know that old school slab Prime Cut stuff that was slab straight out of the box. I know it's popular.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and the only one that had sold was like 6 years ago, and the sticker price was $500, and the one that sold 6 years ago sold for $450. So I was like,
something's not adding up.
We'll take we'll take a flyer on this, and I bought that with something else too, and they gave me a nice deal on it. So that'll go off to an auction house, and hopefully I don't look like a total ding dong trying to flip baseball cards. But yeah, that's basically Tuesday. Wednesday is just trying to find stuff to make money. So it's kind of what you're doing out on the floor.
Yeah.
Finding stuff that makes sense, that I know I'm good on. And basically, I think I had most of that stuff that I bought. It's only like 4 or 5 cards, but I had most of it sold by Friday. So
That's awesome.
It was nice to know that. Yeah, exactly. That it's like, okay, hotels paid for, dinners are paid for, stuff like that. So
that's fantastic.
Because we're stuck at the booth the entire time, like you said.
Yeah. And I think obviously the majority of the people that are watching, this video are not dealers, right?
Right.
I don't consider myself a dealer. I've set up at a Baton Rouge show before with 35 tables, but I don't think that qualifies me as a dealer on your level for sure. So I think a lot of people would be curious, if you don't mind sharing, generally speaking, how much money did it cost for you? And now you didn't need airfare, right? If I recall, didn't you drive in?
I took so I have some friends that live in Arlington. So I drove up to Arlington, took a train from DC to Philly, and then spent the prior weekend with a buddy of mine. So he grabbed me in.
Rough estimate. You're 5 days. Rough estimate. Give me a rough estimate on show costs, renting showcases, if you paid for the Wi-Fi, hotels, food, all that stuff. Give us a rough estimate, just so people know what it's like from the perspective of a dealer. You start in the whole X amount of dollars, and let's work our way out of it.
Yeah. So if you, we're fortunate, and then we split the booth cost up between a group of us. But I would say if you took the entire cost of that booth, whether it's the cost of the booth, the cost of the hotel, if you rented 13 showcases from the place that rents them out on the floor, dinners, whatever, it's probably $5 to $6 grand.
Okay.
So it's not cheap, but it's not the worst thing in the world either.
Yeah.
Just because the booth itself is about $1,300. The showcases $225 times 13. I mean, that's like 28, roughly $3,000. So thankfully a couple of our guys we only had to rent 3 showcases because some of the guys at the booth brought
their own,
the bulk of them. Yeah. So that was a big help. But it's $5 to $6 grand, maybe 6 to 7 once you factor in all the dinners.
That's cool. And you had 2, right? You had 2 showcases, if I recall.
I had 3. Yeah.
You had 3.
I had 2 with sticker prices, and then the one case that didn't have sticker prices.
Got it. And I don't know if we even talked about this, but like, you have cards that are in your PC that you did not bring, right? That you are not interested in selling at the time. I mean, you have a lot of cards like that. Is that fair? I probably should have talked to you about this before we got on here, but like, I'm just thinking to myself, I've seen you post cards, and I'm like, well, I know you didn't have that in the showcase. I mean, there's cards that you're not moving.
Yeah, so like the National it's the one time a year that I make just about everything available. But a couple of them are to the point where it's not worth it to bring them for any number of different reasons. So the other 2 triple autos, those stay at home. They're just not worth it putting those out in showcase. The Jordan Dean Smith dual auto that I have, that's I mean, that, again, I tell people if you ever see me selling that online, then like I'm in a bad
All
spot.
hell
So
broke loose, right?
exactly, yeah. That one, I have a couple of those. Those stay at home, and I just have
Yeah,
some. I have some LeBron rookie stuff too. That like there's just 0 point selling it right now. So
yeah,
I left that at home as well. So um, everything at the show for that week has a price.
sure.
But you can certainly tell by some of those prices how much I want to move them versus
There you
how
go.
much I
That's
don't.
right.
Yep.
There's a price for everything, but there's also a price that it doesn't even spark a conversation. So that makes sense to me. So let me do this. I'm going to pull up a couple of cards and tell me what these cards mean, what you did. Did you bring them in? Did you sell them? Did you trade them? Things like that. So the first one that we've got on our screen, on the screen share, is this 98 Skybox Premium Star Rubies Kobe. I've never seen this card. I've
Yep.
never seen that action pose. Like, that's a badass card right there, man. I don't know how else to put it. I'm not a Kobe collector, but that's not normal. That's his 95 Rubies. Tell us about that card and what happened with this card at the show.
Yeah, so this one, I actually saw it a couple months ago at the Indie Card show that I went to with my buddy Andy, who was set up a couple booths down from me. But the guy had this, and I think I saw this one on like Sunday, and it was in a BGS RCR sleeve, and it was basically just like making the Sunday lap, before you're starting to pack up and head out. And I was like, holy shit, like you said,
Yeah.
this is. We've seen a lot of inserts, 90s inserts, 90s cards from a lot of different guys from a lot of different sets show up, but this is one of those that, knock on wood, I'm sure I'm jinxing myself, but this one hadn't shown up yet, and it's, for some reason, it's just kind of hidden in collections, whether it's like that snakeskin background pattern or like you said, the full body reverse dunk image of Kobe. It's just kind of tucked away.
It checks a lot of boxes. Yeah,
Exactly. So I had talked with the guy who had it at the indie show, and he was like, I'm just not ready to sell it. I made him a cash offer, and I was like, that's fine. We'll just stay in touch. And we emailed a little bit before the show, and he sent me pictures of it slabbed, and I was like, swing by the booth whenever you get a chance. So he came by. I think Thursday, and we ended up swinging something that was cash card for it. And again, this isn't necessarily something that's in my wheelhouse, as you can see from like just about everything that I own having some sort of ink on it.
Yeah.
But just recognizing, like you said, the set, the action shot, the design, and just how it's been a minute since one of these has popped up. It's just one of those things that I was comfortable taking a flyer on, and it'll be something fun to play with, because I'm actually heading out to Burbank in 3 weeks for the Burbank Sports Cards, their first show out on the left coast. So that'll be a fun one to take and to play with.
And look, Justin, so that's kind of the difference between you and me. As a dealer, you're not necessarily only looking for cards that you like. You're looking for cards that would be customers like, that you can move, that somebody may stretch a little bit to get. And so even though you may not be this mad Kobe collector, you're picking up cards from a dealer's perspective that I probably wouldn't look at. I can appreciate the card, but I would never consider buying that card. I just don't collect Kobe. But from a dealer standpoint, you're running a business, right? So it's a little bit different than the average collector. So that's a cool card. That's a big time card. We've got this one here. I know this one's going to mean a lot to you. I know you're going to have something to say about this one. Did you pick this one up at the show?
Yeah. So this was a walk up. So this was all trade. God almighty, it's like, sit down, kids. There's a story to tell. There's a story for all this stuff, and that's what makes it so fun. But so I owned, so a little background on the card. It's 2008, 2009 UD Black inscriptions. This is the gold version with the King James inscription. It's numbered to 10. It's also 6 out of 10, which, near and dear to my heart.
Matters.
Exactly, always matters. But there's a silver version of this numbered to 25 that does not have any inscription. And then the gold one's numbered to 10. Most of the players sign some sort of inscription. Like Larry Johnson has a grandmama one, and it's awesome. Oh yeah. He's got a grandmama one. He might have inscribed the silver ones too. But anyway, so I own this card a couple years ago, and I actually traded away an 8.510 copy of this card at last year's national to a buddy of mine. So I went a year without one. Had this one walk up to the booth. Shame on me for not being able to remember the gentleman's Instagram, who I swapped it with, but I'm bad like that. But super nice guy. Walked up. He had a bunch of nice pieces. We talked about some different options, and he was interested in my Michael Jordan Chronology Timeless Memories, the dunk contest auto,
Yes.
BGS 9510. And so we talked a little bit. We did the dance. We played tag and all that fun stuff, and walked away that night. It was Thursday, because we said we'd meet up at trade night. So walked away from the show. We're like, we'll figure it out at trade night on Thursday. Of course, Thursday trade night came and went. It took like 30 minutes to get in because there were so many people there. Shout out to Jimmy and Ryan for another incredible trade night.
Yeah.
And then I was only in there for about 30 minutes, and I spent most of that time talking to Jimmy. So I didn't have a chance to catch up with the guy again. Thankfully, he came back to the booth on Friday, and we were able to hammer out something involving this one. And the BGS 910 auto is the highest grade in the pop. There's no 95s, obviously, just because that the UD Black stuff is just super hard with the black edges, the chipping. Yeah, exactly. The chipping, the corners, the thick card stock. So there's 285s in the 9, and so the 9's the highest grade. And yeah, we were able to wrap something up. And again, it was all trade, and it was all trade at a very, very big dollar value. So
yeah, had to be, because those chronology's on fire. Chronology's hot as can be. Jordan cards aren't dipping. And so big card for big card. That's an awesome trade. I would have loved to have been there. I was not sitting at your table when that happened, but I would have been a very keen, interested observer at the time. This one,
I think I've tracked down. There's, like I said, there's 10 of those. There's 1 or 2 that are rumored to not have the inscription. I've never seen them, but I think I've tracked down like 5 of the 10 and just scattered around in different personal collections, and they're very much in personal collections. So when something like that circulating around, it was tough as a North Carolina MJ guy to give up MJ for LeBron, but just knowing how many are tucked away and that this doesn't happen very often, I was like, let's.
But that card, like, and this is what I struggle with, right? Because my big fault, or one of my biggest problems in the hobby, Justin, is I struggle to let go of cards that mean something to me. You're going to roll out to Burbank. That card's going to be in your showcase, and there's going to be a price that you'll take for that card. So
right,
I can't
for sure.
I can't get there. I don't have what you have in you. I care too much. I can't do that. But I guess if I was doing it full time, I probably could, right? Because that's how you, feed your family and turn on the lights and live in a covered shelter. So I guess if I had to make money, I'd be able to desensitize myself to it. But right now, it's like there's Jordan cards out there. I've got duplicates of it, and I struggle to sell the lower grade duplicate. And that's just, I don't know what's wrong with me. So maybe I'll get that one day.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's so Mike Kant's MC Sports Cards, he's been doing this full time for years now, and he's on a different astral plane than I am in terms of what he does. He's one of the
volume wise for sure. That dude's got some eBay transactions,
quality and quantity. He's one of the best in the business. But I've talked to him about. I'm like, good God, man, you always got new Instagram posts with a dozen new cards and picked all this up yesterday, or this came in the mail. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, it's just even if I'm taking losses on this stuff that's going out or whatever, it's just the importance of not letting inventory get stale.
Yeah.
So while I can't prescribe to that in full, just given a lot of the stuff that I have and the collector in me won't allow me to, it was still pretty valuable information to understand that, okay, it is important to maintain that, it's, you're going to shows now. And even if it's only a half dozen shows a year or a show a quarter or something like that, it's like you need to roll out some new inventory every time you go. It can't be the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I still got a lot of the same stuff, but it's important to just be able to show that you're turning inventory over. People will come to you looking to see what's new, what you got, and you can just start to build kind of a customer base from there.
For sure. Next one we got. Again, I do these Explore the Card episodes every Friday, Justin, where I pick a Jordan insert or parallel from the 90s, and then I deep dive into it, give a bunch of stats, pops, prices, set it comes from, the history of the card, where it is price-wise, and I kind of chart the history of the price and the value of the card, how many of them are out there, how to find them. This is one that I've always put off because this crap confuses the hell out of me. Why don't you do this for a lot of the Jordan collectors that are watching?
No. No, don't make me give the tutorial.
You can't do it. I know there's luminescent, triumvirate, illuminescent. Luminous. I don't know. Tell me what you do know about this damn card and the different parallels.
Oh my God. Okay, so this is going to get dangerous if you're having an autograph guy trying to explain 90s inserts. So
We can
there's
get
three.
Frankie. We can get
I,
Frankie on here to help
I
us.
know we definitely need to phone a friend on this one.
Yeah.
So there's three different options for the triumvirate, the card number T1B up in
Okay.
the top right corner. So the luminescent one is the one that's got the refractory finish on the front,
Got
but
it.
it's flat. It's a flat cardboard on the back. So when I looked, and I probably spent an hour just screwing around on Card Ladder trying to figure this stuff out. But based on what I saw, a PSA 10 luminescent like this one, so basically the refractor one,
Sure.
has not sold in like a year and a half.
Wow.
There have been 9.5s, BGS 9.5s that have sold. I think a 9.5 just sold. PSA 9s, and as you accurately called out, like so many of these are mislabeled. Like they're the illuminators versus the luminescence versus the illuminous. And oh God, I don't want to speak out of turn, but one of the other two, the difference is that it's completely transparent. So if you held the card up to the light, you can see through the entire card. So it's like an acetate based card where you can see through to the back. And
Yeah.
then the other one is it's got kind of a flat chrome finish, and then it's got the cardboard finish on the back. So basically,
Like that's not the same card. That's not the same card, right? That's luminous.
Yeah, but I think it's mislabeled.
Is that the same card then?
Because it looks refractory.
Yeah, and you know what? Look at the description over here. It says luminescent.
There you go. Yeah. So and this is the problem when you try and mess around with the pop reports on this particular set, is that
Jeez.
nobody, BGS and PSA don't know either.
Yeah.
So it's challenging, but after looking around at this for long enough, it was a fun one, and I'm trying to get more comfortable with MJ inserts, and you do so well with the different rundowns, is just understand pops. You know, it doesn't have, you don't have to understand like the pops for every damn MJ card made during the 90s, and like what are gem rates on all of them. But if I see this stuff come across the booth, or if I'm looking at a dealer's showcase, just walk away, make a note, and be like, is this a rare one, or is this something that's a dime a dozen? Because I've found that in the past 4 to 6 months, that's some of the stuff that's served me well when I've sold it. So just starting to dip the toe a little bit. And again, we ain't going PMG Reds or Champs or Fusion Titaniums or anything crazy, but just starting to get comfortable with what some of those tougher grades, tougher numbers, tougher ratios are. And being willing to accept those as trade.
And look, now we're in my world, so that's kind of the direction that I've kind of taken the last 30 days as the championship PMG and the 98 PMG and the Reds and the Playmakers Theater and all that stuff goes ape shit. I've kind of started looking at very high grade BGS 9.5 or PSA 10 of super low pop Jordan inserts, just in the highest grade possible, which are like pop 10, pop 20 kind of stuff. I've kind of been playing in that range because those cards are $7,000 to $15,000, and some of those cards in those grades are more rare than those cards that are selling for 150, 100,000, 6 figures plus. So maybe the day will come. I don't know. Maybe the day will come where the meltdown is more, more sought after than the Playmakers Theater. I doubt that, but you never know. So that's kind of the playground that I've been in lately, is kind of looking at those cards. But
yeah, and I just looked it up just to close the loop. So the Illuminator is the one that's the transparent one, the see-through. Okay. And then the Luminous is the one that's got the kind of chrome finish on the front, but then the standard card stock on the back. So
Illuminator, again, Luminous, Luminescent. Now we know. Okay.
I'm gonna forget that in 90 seconds.
All very valuable though. All three probably cost a lot in PSA 10 grade. All right, the next one, I'm super familiar with this. And the rumor has it, a very friendly Cajun helped you broker a sale of this card already. So this card is already out of your hands.
It's already in its FedEx box en route to its next destination. So awesome. as I mentioned, if you refuse to take referral fees or finder's fees, then I'll pay you in frosty cold ones the next time we can do this. Hopefully Vegas at worst, but hopefully before then. But yeah, so this is one. I mean, everybody knows what this is. Just the David Robinson PMG red. It's 0.5 away from a 9. And when it walked up, and it's a guy that I've dealt with before, super nice guy. Look really nice in hand. I mean, again, you're the PMG red expert, so I'll certainly defer. But just
This
in
is nuts.
looking at the edges, it was really sharp. So
The chipping, where is it?
yeah,
Where's the chipping that I had on 100 of my PMG reds? I don't see it, man. Like there's a little bit of work over here. This is an issue right here, but man, it's as red can be. That's a big time David Robinson card. So when you reached out, or I think I reached out to you, however, I put you in touch with my good local friend here that ended up picking this card up from you in a real quick, easy deal. I told you it was easy to work with. I told him, I said, look, man, I just sold my BGS 8.5 David Robinson. It did not look like this card. I was like, this is significantly better looking than the 8.5 that I sold. And I was glad that you guys worked that deal out. It sounds like it was a win-win, which is nice. It's got to be nice to make some good, profits on the flip of a car that you picked up at the National, and then you got kind of moved the next week, to a nice, easy wire transaction buyer. So.
Yeah, and it's the reds and obviously the greens too, but it's one of those things. I had it in my showcase for I don't know a couple days, and it is jarring just when you see those things in the showcase. And if they're, especially if they're not, I mean, if they're around other ones, that's one thing. But like if it's in my stuff that's all mainly non-90s inserts, it's like you're just looking, and then it's a literal
red
stop,
amongst a lot of gold, and
it's a stop sign. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Look at this thing. So I haven't owned many PMG reds during the day. I feel like I picked up a raw Del Curry at a National 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. But I've never dipped the toe in any of the big ones. So to be able to have a big one for a while, I can certainly see the appeal. I can definitely see it.
Yeah. And then to quote all the investor, hype content creators out there, criminally undervalued David Robinson. All David Robinsons are criminally undervalued. All right. I know what I'm looking at here. This is no joke. I know you got a story behind it. You know what? Let's save that one for last. We're going to save that one for last. Okay. Let's talk about this Shaq Fusion. This means nothing to you, but this does mean a lot to me because I'm a Shaq collector and I'm from Louisiana, and I got to watch him in college and I got to play against him a couple times. So this is a big time card right here. Tell us about this 98 molten metal Fusion. I think it's mislabeled. Did we decide it was mislabeled? Yeah,
probably. Yeah, I think it is. But this is another. So this one and the Jordan and a bunch of other stuff was just in it was all trade. It was a swap with Jeremy Sports Card Live.
Okay.
It was a fun one. I swapped some my 30910 exquisite patches for just a nice little package of MJ inserts and then a few Shaq pieces. But this was the biggest Shaq. It's a pop. Again, if the pop report is to be believed, which based on the label, it's not. There's 4 total Shaqs that are 9.5s across both the Fusion and the Fusion Titanium headings in the population report out of, I think maybe, 12, 13 graded. So to be able to play with just something that's a bit of a premium grade from a set that is as popular as it is, I wasn't entirely certain on value, but just having a ballpark for some other guys and just what I was able to find on like a raws and stuff like that. I was excited, like I said, to take this on and take it out west. Because I'm sure there'll be plenty of Lakers guys there.
No issues at Burbank moving this card, I don't think, as long as you're reasonable in price. Do you remember any of the other Jordan inserts or parallels you picked up in that trade with Jay Lee?
Yeah, there was a Dunkin' Go Nuts BGS 10, zero greening or zero yellowing. Acetate.
That's the issue, right? That's the big issue, right? Okay.
Yeah, acetate looked perfect. A Shaq Legacy Row 0 PSA 8 96 97. Okay. So the MJ Luminous, and a few other MJs that were, I think, a season's best refractor, maybe PSA 10, a couple other PSA 10s as well. So
in Jeremy picked up from you 3 0809 exquisite patches, all LeBrons.
So it was the 0910 exquisite patches, number to 10. 09. So it was Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. Yep. Oh, wow. So it was, and I've had those. I've had those forever. I've put them out at shows, and it sucks to give up exquisite, but at the same time, it speaks to what I mentioned earlier of like, just trying to trying to get more comfortable being or messing around with cards from, high grade MJ popular
Yeah.
inserts from the 90s, and these seem to certainly fit that bill. So it was a good swap. It was a late in the day swap on Sunday as we were getting ready to go. So it'll be a fun one to play with at shows
Oh
down
yeah.
the road.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think you're coming back from Burbank with it, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest glaring voids in my collection, Jeremy, is I don't own a single exquisite card, not one. And like one rainy Sunday, you know how it is. Like sometimes if you're bored, you just magically appear on like PWCC's weekly auction and you're searching exquisite. So I was like, I'm tired of hearing everybody talk about exquisite, and I don't even have one. And so I just plugged in exquisite, and I was trying to buy anything. Like I was literally on tilt, right? I was like, give me a John Stockton exquisite something, or a Mark Price exquisite. I don't care. Just give me something, right? And I couldn't pull the trigger. I was like, God dang, this stuff's expensive. I just couldn't touch it, man. So I'm going to try to stay in my lane. I'm going to leave the patches and the autos to you guys, and I'll stay with my, my Damian Lillard shiny stuff and then my Jordan stuff in the 90s. So anyway,
well,
so that's
it's
it.
just
Okay.
and it's just fun stuff. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be you just straight up buy one, but the next time you're at a show and you see some, just pick them up and look at them, because you don't.
They're
Again,
awesome.
we've all kind of been desensitized to Panini sticking with the roughly the same design for their flagship products every single year, and I mean it's fine, whatever, it's nice, but you look at exquisite, and we do have the benefit of some hindsight here. I didn't like a lot of the exquisite sets when they came out. They would do just a wholesale design change and be like, ugh, what is this? Why doesn't it look like the
Why
year
did they leave
before?
it,
But
right?
yeah, exactly. But the time has been very good to them. So yeah, just grab one the next time you see it at a show, or give it a good look. And
I got to put one.
There's a lot going on in those cards, man. They're
The limited
incredible.
logos are the ones that really reach out and grab me, man. If I'm going to make that jump, I'm going to figure out somebody's limited logos that I could get. I don't care if it's Darko Milicic. I got to get a limited logo, because those cards are absolutely fire, especially the 03s. So
yeah.
All right, so we saved the best for last. This is a monster, and this is a card you already had before the show. You had it in a BGS slab. You walked it over and got it graded, and it came back PSA 8 Auto 10. And so a lot of the guys that watch our show and gals that watch our show are probably, not to sound disparaging, but a lot of people are like PSA 10 or nothing, right? But I don't think they understand the increase in value that resulted from your BGS slab into this PSA 8 10 auto slab. Tell us what case it was in, and then tell us what the card means, and then if you don't mind, just expound a little bit in general terms on what that meant for the value of it to switch it from one slab to the other.
Yeah, of course. So I bought this from Heritage Auctions, I think 3 months ago, and it was a BGS 6.510, and Heritage has some ultra high res scans that can be really, really helpful, but sometimes they make cards look a certain way when they're not really that way in person. So the subgrades were like a 9.5, a 9, but then the centering was a 6, and that was my first indication. Like, all right, that's just wrong. So I looked at. I've got a buddy that owns a 9.510. I found a couple other copies on Google Images, and just comparing mine to the other ones that were 9 or 9.5 centering, I was like, so, that part is just flat wrong.
It's the top to bottom, right? Because it's not supposed to be the same amount of space between the top and the bottom on this car. Is that the issue? Is like, I think whoever graded it with BGS thought, well, the top's small and the bottom is big, so therefore the centering's bad. But that's the way it's manufactured.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. There's also a BGS 5.510 of this same card. But that one actually makes sense, because if you zoom in on the text on the top line that says Trilogy, it's like the centering on that one is so bad that it's cut off like part of the T. So like that one I can actually understand. But this one, after I spent some time with it, I looked at it, I was like, this doesn't make any sense at all. So the centering's out of the question. So the question was the surface. So these are my dream cards. Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. It's like if I can get into more of these, I've owned way too many and let them go through the years. Like these are my babies. So I saw this one when it first came out hit the block on Heritage. I was like, okay, the color looks pretty good. The centering doesn't make sense. Surface is kind of the kicker, but whatever. We'll keep an eye on it. And then about a week or two left in the auction, Heritage posted another picture of the card to their Instagram account, but it was a picture taken with an iPhone, and the card was just sitting on their desk. And I was like, this card looks so much better than the picture in this picture that they took with an iPhone than it does with their high-res scanner. So I was like, oh shit, okay, so we need to start getting serious about this because it's going to cost a lot of money. So I won it. I got it in hand. I was like, yep, centering doesn't make sense. I can't see anything with the surface. The BGS inner sleeve did have some goofiness going on with it. So I was like, it's just, if I want to do this, it's going to have to be a straight up crack the slab and resub it raw. I don't, if that's the
Who
only
cracked
way
it? Who cracked it? Who held the tools?
So fast forward to Wednesday at the show. Clay Card's really good friend of mine. He's helped me out. He graded all those the golds for me, and he's helped me out with a whole bunch of stuff in the past. I hit him up and I was like, I got one for you. So I took it over to him. We met over by the breaker booths, the breaker pavilion, before anybody was there. I brought the pliers. He was like, all right, just go find a flathead screwdriver for me. It's like, okay. I give him the pliers. He's like, all right, I'm going to go behind you. You're going to hear two cracks. The first one's going to be a pop, and then the second one's going to be a longer crack. And I was like, oh my God.
Don't turn around, Justin.
Yeah. So I hear the first pop, and I cringe, and a couple friends were with me, and I'm surprised they didn't videotape it. And then the second one, all I hear is, and I'm like, oh my God, what have we done? And to his credit, he comes back with the BGS slab, and it was basically like a book that you could have just folded back together. It had the tiny little opening on the top to be able to get the flathead in there, and then just slowly but surely you ease the glue or whatever adhesive apart, and it just opened up like a book. So we took a look at it out of the card, gave it a quick wipe with the microfiber. And from what we could see, there was some sort of residue on the back, just like a small spot. But since PSA is so much more lenient with back issues or the condition of the back of the card than BGS is, we were like, all right, let's give it a go. And if it would have come back as 610, I wouldn't have cared. I just wanted it out of that BGS slab, because anything in a PSA slab would have given it would have made the grading fee worth it. So fast forward to Wednesday afternoon, Clay comes back and he's like, hey man, I just got an email from PSA. They said it's altered. And I was like, he's bullshitting you. I was like, oh no. Okay. Well, any reason why? They're like, no, it's just an email that said it was altered. So we can either slab it authentic. We can do authentic auto 10. And when he said the authentic auto 10, I told him this, I was like, wait a minute, they won't slab something authentic if it's been altered.
So you found him out. Yeah, great detective work.
I was like, something about this seems off. And then thankfully he didn't drag me out anymore, because my stomach went down to my toes, and then it just shot through the top of my bald head in a matter of seconds when he slid it across the table.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
It was a PSA 810. So yeah,
guess price difference between 6.5 slab and this 810.
Probably like a 50% to 75% bump in value.
That's the real deal. Yeah. So I cracked a card at your table as well. And
you did,
similar story. Yeah, taking it out of a BGS blue label, putting it in a PSA authentic altered label. Same grade, just two different companies. And on PMG Reds, the red label just pops and it carries a premium with it. So it was well worth the exorbitant grading fee. I'm sure you paid an exorbitant grading fee as well, but you obviously yours turned out significantly better than mine.
Yeah, he graded my Kobe Red Refractor number 5 with PSA last year for $300. And I think I got lucky that PSA didn't know what they were looking at when they graded that one. So we came back and he was like,
Topps Chrome?
Yeah, to 0809 Topps Chrome. The red one's number 5. And so he came back this year and I was like, what do I owe you? He's like, it'll be $625. So I gave him $1,000 and he was like, oh, no, $6,025. I was like, oh, I will only be
slight miscommunication.
You won't be getting the same tip, but I guess PSA is now back to even on the grading fees between what they should have charged me last year versus what they did this year.
So the question that everybody who's watching this video is going to want to know is, that's Kobe, that's LeBron, and that is Michael Jordan. That is probably two of the two best players of all time, and then another however you want to say it, top 10 player of all time. It's an 810. It's serial number to 10. It's just an absolute grail amongst grails. Is that card going to be in your showcase when you go to Burbank?
I will have it with me, but I don't expect to move it. So I'm about to make some big, or not about to, in the process of making some big life changes, and just going to be traveling cross country, and I am going to be vaulting a significant portion of stuff with
Awesome.
with PWCC. So yeah, it'll be taking a bunch of stuff out there, and whatever doesn't move, just use ship it up to the vault, up to Portland, like I know you have, and so many other guys have too. So it's tough. I've already got separation anxiety from what I've already given them, but I saw I'm starting to get some of the pictures trickling into to my Vault account, and seeing those pictures, like the high res scanner that they use. It's like, wow, this is a lot better than Heritage.
Yeah.
These things look incredible.
What's beautiful, and what I keep talking about ad nauseum, and people think I'm hyping and pumping PWCC. I'm not. I use them, and I'm just trying to explain to people, I'm not a dealer. You're a dealer, so you're going to love it even more. But it's like, if somebody says, hey, Justin, I want to see all the gold prisms you've got. Well, if you've got 31 gold prisms as a dealer, if they're in Virginia in your house sitting right next to you, you can't show me 31 gold prisms right now. But if you've got them in PWCC, you can show me the front and back of 31 gold prisms in about 45 seconds. It's click, and you're done. And it's amazing. And I know it is tough to let your cards go. And I know, especially somebody like you, because I know you love having them in hand, but it gets easier when the utility of using that vault to get transactions done, especially somebody like you, like nobody's going to question your veracity or your, dependability in the hobby. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who I am. I'm not screwing anybody on a deal. I don't need to coin my cards, right? My cards are in the vault. I'm not going anywhere. If you want to see one of my cards, I ship it straight from the vault to you with tracking, and we're good to go. I don't even have to package that thing. And I certainly don't have to list it on eBay. So it's going to be a great asset for you, especially in what you're doing with these monster cards. But I can't speak highly enough of PWCC and what it's done for my collection. So, but anyway, so if I had to ask you, so two questions. So, what do you expect to be the state of the hobby 12 months from now, or 11 months and 20 days from now, when we roll into Rosemont, and I'm gonna be up there with you? What is going to be different? Where are cards going to be? Specifically, I'm talking about cards, the types of cards that we've talked about today. I'm not going to ask you about base prism or silvers or stuff like that, or ultra modern Panini stuff, but like, where are our types of cards, the cards that we looked at today, the cards that you and I collect? What is going to be the status of those cards 12 months from now? Better, worse? What's different? What's new? Anything different that you can think of? Where do you see this going 12 months from now? It's not a big window when you talk about cards like this. You think 5 years, 10 years, but anything different 12 months from now? Anything going to be hot that's not hot now?
So I think the biggest thing, and I tend to think that this could have more of a negative impact than a positive, but it's certainly positive in certain ways. But like, I've heard some astronomical numbers about like dollar amounts of cards that were dropped off with consigners, just because people are continuing the process of cashing out, of finding money. And to that point, like I mentioned this to you offline, but I had a father-son combo walk up to the booth. Somehow we made it back to booth 2845, and basically, our booth was in Rosemont if the show was in Atlantic City. But he came up and he's like, hey, just curious, what are your thoughts on grading? Do you prefer BGS or PSA? And it's like, okay, it just kind of depends on what you're grading, what the value is, when you're looking to get it back and stuff like that. And, we talked for a couple minutes, and I was just like, what are you looking to grade? He pulls out of his pocket a 98-99 Michael Jordan game jersey autograph numbered to 23. And for those of y'all who aren't familiar with the set, so this is the second year of the game jersey autos. There were 6 different variations with 6 different pictures that MJ signed that were inserted into 6 different packs. So basically, there's a population of 138 total of these cards, but each of the 20, there you go. Each one of the 23 will have a different. There's 6 different pictures. So he walked up with one of those, and it was in the old school snap tight, no recessed corners case, little plastic case that dude was carrying around in his pocket. And I was like, oh my Jesus, okay. So the first thing I did, I was like, we got him a one touch. We got him a penny sleeve to put over the top. We got him a team bag, and he was like, all right, here, first of all, do this. Then we talked a little bit, and he mentioned how he had an appointment at BGS to get it reviewed tomorrow. And I was like, that makes sense. They'll get it back to you. It's the cheapest option. Like PSA is going to charge you an arm and a leg for that thing. And BGS is probably the best way to go for what you need to do. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And of course, I followed up with, well, what do you want to just move it now? He was like, no, I want to get it reviewed. Just make sure I know what it is. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Well, whenever is that the one that sold for $270,000
$288, yeah, $288 9 months ago.
Yeah, there you go. So I told him, I was like, that makes sense. So whenever you get back, just come see me. I'll be curious, and we can talk about what we want to do. So fast forward the next day, he comes back. It graded out a BGS 910, looks beautiful. And so we start talking. I'm like, well, what do you want for it? And he quoted me a very high number, but good for him. I don't want him to quote me $10,000, and then it's just he loses out on a large sum of money. So he immediately followed up with, I don't know what this thing's worth. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So we talked a little bit, and we talked about what it would probably bring in an auction house, and then I just started talking. Are you looking for cash? Would you be interested in cash card? And he's like, well, I just need cash. We're building a new house. I said, okay, are you looking for electronic cash or paper cash? And he said, paper cash. So I said, okay. So if you walk this thing around, you're probably going to get dealer offers for paper cash anywhere from 75 to 80, or call it 70 to 80% of what it might bring in open auction. For cash in hand, under the table, good to go. He was like, okay, that makes sense. He had kind of prepared for that. So again, I told him, and I was trying to do my good deed as much as I wanted it. I was like I said, this is a lot of money. You're building a house. This is for you and the son and the family. Go walk it around, see what you can get for it, see what numbers get thrown around. Yeah. If you don't get what you want or what you think is a fair number, come back to me. And he ended up selling it to somebody in the show for an amount. I'm not sure how much it sold for. I just saw it popped up on the new owner's Instagram page, and unfortunately the guy never circled back. So he moved it. He definitely got cash for it because the guy who bought it definitely has the cash to buy it. Yeah. But the whole point of this long-winded story is to say that even though we are down from where we were 12 months ago, we are still way up from where we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it is. And as people continue to find money in closets, in shoe boxes, in attics, in safe deposit boxes or whatever, they don't care. I shouldn't say blanket statement, but a lot of them do not care about the card anymore. They just want to cash out. So my fear in terms of valuations is that we are going to continue to see a massive influx of inventory just continue to churn through on the auction sites, PWC Weekly, PWCC Monthly, Golden, Heritage, blah, 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 on and on and on. And we're just going to continue to drink from a fire hose for the next 12 months.
We've got to let it run its course. We've got to let this run its course, because as crazy as, many cards have gone down pretty significantly in value over the last 9 to 12 months. People are still way the hell up on where they acquired those cards. Many people in the hobby, myself included, on some of those cards. So they're still taking huge profits, right? Even though it looks like, we could have gotten this much, 9 months ago. Well, you're still getting 12x what you paid for the card. And so there's still going to be people out there that are taking those profits. We've got to let it run its course. Which basically means we got to let these rare cards run dry, man. That's the only way. I mean, we saw it. There's no better card that's an indicator of what's going on and what has to happen than the 86 Fleer PSA 10. I mean, that's like the barometer, right? Card's going to keep going down until people stop selling the card. So that card has to find its hands into 320 collectors. It's really what has to happen for that card to run again. It's not going to run until it gets something like that, and there's a pure saturation point where collectors are holding all of them. So conversely, like the flip side of that is, from a collecting perspective, these massive dollar amounts are still bringing
it's bringing cards back into the public space, the collector space that nobody either knew existed or people
Oh,
thought were dead. Because
no doubt.
this guy pulled this MJ 20 years ago. He's been holding it for 20 years in a random box because he was like, I just kept hitting all these garbage Dirk rookies, so I just kept buying boxes, hoping to hit something better, and he hit the MJ. So it sucks that I would expect to see prices continue to soften across all price points, but at the same time, as more and more people find these hidden treasures, they're going to want to cash out on them.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity to buy this stuff up that you either hadn't seen in ages or you thought was gone or whatever. So it's definitely it's a mixed bag. And my main thing right now too is we got the first NFL game tonight. We got the Hall of Fame game tonight. Thank God.
Is it
because
tonight?
Yeah, it's tonight.
Oh,
so
I had no idea.
But that's the thing though. We need sports back because this is notoriously the softest time of the hobby year, the dog days of summer. Nobody gives a damn about baseball. There's no football. There's no basketball.
It's a little too early for basketball prospects. It's coming. We're starting to see a little bit. I just did a video on it. We're getting there, but yeah. Give it 30 to 40 more days, and then we're going to see people buying these cheap Prism Silvers of these prospects who haven't played yet, or guys they think they're going to take the next step. I'm with you, man. I agree.
Yeah, because people now treat sports cards like they do like daily fantasy betting. Again, I know that other smarter people have said this, but instead of just betting $100 on the Chargers, like just buy a Herbert rookie and see what it does week to week, or like if you like a young receiver, just see if you can get lucky. So we just need people to start putting that disposable income back into the card market, regardless of what the price point is, and professional college sports kicking off in mass once again over the next couple months is always a huge catalyst for that. So yeah, it'll definitely help. But yeah, we just need to get through August alive.
Yeah, we do, and I think we will. I think everything's going to be fine. I mean,
Oh, me too.
That. And we can all look at big picture indexes thanks to our good friends at Card Ladder, right? They provide these monstrous indexes. But despite what the market's done the last 9 to 12 months, what's ironic is, and I'm talking specifically about the Jordan world, we'll see some Jordan cards go just into another stratosphere. PMG Red is going absolutely bananas, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've bought 2 cards that were the highest price point ever paid recently for Jordans. Not that I'm proud of that, but these are cards I didn't think I was going to see again. Low pop cards, 15 and below. But then you'll see some Jordan cards that are selling for drastically less than the peak. And so there's arbitrage there if you put in the time and you're educated and you really kind of consider the numbers. There's some Jordan cards that are still at a very, very, very good price point, but then there's other Jordan cards that are breaking records. And I only say Jordan because that's kind of where I kind of stay. So I'm not an expert on as many different types of cards as you are, but it's there. There's money to be made. It's just not easy money anymore. That's really the difference. There's no easy money. You've got to put pen to paper and use your brain, and you got to have a little bit of a understanding of supply and demand.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it when we did our national preview with our fallen hero Josh, who was not here. I'm sure he's just got something else to do. Better use of his time as we'd expect. As we'd expect, running a big old auction house, it's fine. The little guys just getting kicked to the side. But one of the things we talked about was like when to buy LeBron, when to jump back in, and again, he's certainly it's some analogs to the Jordan market, like you said, of if you can find a cool rookie card of his that's number to 25, number to 50, and it's a couple grand, $2,500. It's like, my God, it's just it's not 2021 cards go up anymore. It's 2022. Markets are becoming a little more self-aware and realistic in terms of how they should operate. So, like you said, you got to put in some work to figure out where to put that money because the cash is more valuable than ever. So just be smart with the money and do a little bit of homework. And there's all kinds of fun stuff to buy right now at every price point, regardless of.
It's definitely a more intelligent, educated hobby community, and I don't mean educated like schooling. I mean educated like they've put time and effort into understanding what products are, what players are, and price points, and a history of cards. And so it's really a double-edged sword, I think, is what's happening. And this is why we see this massive rush to low pop. And I'll be honest with you, I think we're getting to the point where the pendulum has swung too far, and we're getting there, and that's just human nature. But it's a double-edged sword. And I say that because those people who weren't willing to educate themselves and they came in for the easy money, whether they came from crypto or sneakers or whatever, or just happened to stumble upon it during COVID and, got into the hobby and it was like, damn, I can make a hell of a lot of money doing this. Those people who weren't willing to truly educate themselves and invest in the hobby, they're gone. And then those who have decided to stay, who came in at a very low level, have begun to educate themselves. So if you've stuck around, you're starting to educate yourselves and actually, ask, thoughtful questions to understand the cards and the products and the players better. And then the people who weren't willing to do that have disappeared. And so for that reason, I think we're seeing this massive funnel to crazy low pop cards. So we shall see. It's not been good for the 86 Fleer. It's not been good for the 2003 Topps Chrome LeBron. It's not been good for the 2008 Doncic, the 2019 Zion. And so that pendulum has swung, but, we don't know where the bottom is. We don't know where that balance is. But it'll be interesting, again, it doesn't matter to me because I don't have any Doncic or Zion base cards anywhere, but it'll be interesting to see where so many of those people who do like those cards, and there's a lot of people who really, I know you don't touch them and I barely touch them, but there's so many people that really love those super ultra modern, even base rookies, that.
Well, and I know that I know that I think this came up just at some point when we were talking, but just pure anecdotal. But I probably had a half dozen guys come up the booth and be like, "You have any graded Topps Chrome base rookies?" LeBron, yeah.
Really?
I had multiple people that asked, and I was like, "See, that's interesting that people are starting to give a damn about this stuff again." Because I would have never expected, and honestly, I didn't see many on the floor. So that tells me
Go look on Instagram. When's the last time you saw somebody say, "Look at this 2003 base Chrome LeBron rookie, PSA 10"? No, because you know why? Because that means, hey, I got my ass handed to me. This is a $40,000 card, $40,000, Jeremy, and Justin, and now it's a 6,500, 7,200, something like that. Yeah, that's a huge loss. Nobody's going to post those cards. Nobody's going to brag about that. That's an encouraging sign that you had some people come up to your table and ask about that.
And again, once the season refires, it's like that's the easy. You and I and a bunch of our friends, we collect the rare stuff. It might be at a higher price point than a lot of people, so we oftentimes can be very hobby elitist. But it's very important for the kind of commodity base cards still serve a very important purpose, and that's as an entry level position, so to speak, into the hobby. And if a guy's hooping a new guy's hooping his butt off, or like LeBron comes out on fire, or Steph, or whomever. It's like what's the card I can buy of this guy that is easiest to understand?
What's the flagship card? Hey, exactly. Justin, that's how I came back in the hobby, was base Prism Giannis. I mean, that was my transition. And then you just figure it out and work your way up from there as you get more comfortable and start to understand the hobby better. So you're right, man. That market has to exist. We need those kinds of cards to bottom out and then start a steady growth to where they belong. Some of those cards, I think they're too cheap, man. I think people have overemphasized supply, which means a hyper focus on population, and underemphasized the actual demand for even some of those commodity cards. Like I'm specifically kind of talking about the 03 Chrome LeBron. And I've got a bunch of those that I'm upside down on. So I'm not going to sit here and hype 03 Chrome LeBron, but I'm happy to sit on them forever. Eventually they're going to get back to where I need them to. So, but anyway, man, look, we're right at an hour. I appreciate you. Anything else you want to add? I mean, good luck in Burbank. I'm sure if anybody watching is out there in California, please go find Justin. Again, here, let me pull up his Instagram so you guys have it. He's an unbelievable follow. Obviously, close to 10,000 people have figured that out on Instagram. He's 610 Sports Cards, and that is not his area code. That is how tall he is. It's also his free throw percentage, 61%. I did some research.
No, easy. No, hold on. Let's not do that. We're not going to end this on a sour note.
It's
we're not going to end this on a sour note. That's true. But I was out talled at the show, so I was sitting down. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday. I was sitting down, and we were across from a booth that had a bunch of like framed pictures and stuff set up. So their booth went pretty vertical too. And the guy walks up, and I'm like, that dude is taller than the booth. And he had a tag on the back of his book bag, and it was Mamadou Ndiaye, I don't know if you remember.
I've seen him. I've seen him in person. An absolute. What is he like? 7'2", 7'1"?
No, 7'5".
7'5"?
He was 7. Yeah, I think he was listed. Let me check. I think he was listed at 7'5".
Oh my gosh. That's fine.
Mamadou Njai, 7'6". Yeah, he's 7'6". So he walked by, and I was like, mercifully, I was sitting down. The good Lord was looking out for me.
You know, I'm thinking
I stayed sitting down too, and they're like, "Dude, take a picture with him." I'm like, "There's no way in hell I'm taking a picture with this guy." It's like my entire identity will be just completely blown up right there on the spot. I don't need that right now, especially at the beginning of the show. I'm not gonna.
The rest of the world feels, man.
Right, exactly. I'm not gonna just sun myself like that before with an entire week to go. So
you look like a combo guard next to him. You know,
man alive, he was a big man.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. We did it. We got through it. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, especially from a dealer perspective. Just trying to get a little different perspective from different people at the National. Everybody's heard what I had to say about it, and it was my first experience. So they got the virgin perspective, right, of just somebody who wanted to walk the floor and get some deals done. And then we got to hear how you do some super high-end trades, and we got to see some absolutely fantastic cars. So I appreciate you sharing some of those pictures with us. And I promise you this will not be the last time on the show. We'll get you on here. We'll try to get our little friend Josh back on the show. He's really important. I think he might have both of us blocked. So I'm trying to – he's supposed to be my co-host. I don't know if you know this. It's called a weekly episode, but he's disappeared for like weeks at a time. And his excuse is always that he's an attorney, but I'm an attorney, and here I am doing like a video every other day. So I don't really know what the big deal is.
Yeah, I'm not the jury's still out on that one, to use a legal term, but exactly. The main charge that I got before we close is that now that we're done with the National, I've definitely had a bit of a cardboard hangover this week. It happens, but I would encourage everybody over the next however many months, just go to a local show, whether it's 40 tables, 100 tables, a decent sized regional show, whatever. Just keep going to shows, especially if it was your first National. Because you'll just start to get more and more accustomed to talking to dealers, learning just kind of the mechanics, and it's just fun. It won't be long again before the Burbank's in 3 weeks, and I'm already starting to like go through boxes and starting to figure out what I'm gonna bring, what I'm gonna do, logistics and all that stuff. So everybody definitely needs a few days away, especially since Atlantic City was not kind to a lot of people for any number of different reasons, but. Keep the positive momentum going forward. Keep going to shows, meet people. It's a lot of fun.
So I Ubered, Justin, for the first time ever, and now I feel like I could Uber anywhere I want. So that's something new for me.
Now you're looking at Manhattan real estate.
That's my primary takeaway from the National is I know how to Uber now. It's amazingly easy. So I'm actually going to a little baby show in Metairie, which is just a kind of a suburb of New Orleans. On the 13th, so next Saturday. So I think it's like 40 or 50 tables or something like that. But like you were saying, like there's something about going to a show. It just kind of keeps the hobby alive, and there's nothing honestly more important as a human being than your power of persuasion, man. It's like one of my not to toot my own horn, but being able to persuade people and make deals with people and create situations where both sides get what they want or perceive that they get what they want is really fun. That's one of the most fun parts of the hobby. Mm-hmm. And there's a sense of closure and a sense of satisfaction when you get a good deal done. And I know you know about that from what we saw today. So thanks for joining us, man. We'll get you on again for sure soon. Good luck at Burbank. Message me and let me know how it goes. And don't bring that stupid triple auto. Keep it in Virginia. Keep it somewhere, or keep it in PWC.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll ultimately end up in likely end up in a vault. So
thank you. Don't bring that. Don't sell that card.
No. Don't.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you. Take care.
See you. Bye. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Justin is a great friend of the show. Obviously, super knowledgeable. One of my mentors in the hobby. As you can see from his display case, I mean, just filthy stuff. Absolutely as impressive as it gets. So I wanted to give you guys just a kind of a perspective of a very high-end dealer at the show, and nobody better to share that with us than Justin. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.